Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Friday chat. I have no idea if these headphones are actually doing anything. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Sasha, I love you. How are you, April? All right, I'm waving. So every Friday at 12:30, I'm doing these little chats. So join in, and then I record it. And Anne-Marie, how are you, darling? And then I post it also onto the YouTube channel. So if you want to join in for one of these chats, please let me know, and I would love to have you. I can interview you, or we can just get on here together and have a chat about something related to wellness, yoga, life. One of those things. You know what I mean? Like, it's all a part of a bigger picture. I'm well, thank you, Anne. Today's a good day. So for today's topic, we're going to talk about mindfulness. Somebody brought this up this week in yoga class. They didn't know what it was. So Wendy, this is for you, and for anybody else who's interested in learning more about it. Mindfulness to me, because I've been teaching yoga for quite a while, is meditation, right? So the meditation has changed into mindfulness for some people. So for some people, it's still meditation. For some people, it's now mindfulness. So what I did was a little research, and what I want to do today is just go over different ways that you can reach that place of mindfulness in your life, and what it means in a yoga practice, if you do a yoga practice, and some examples of how we can be more mindful in a yoga practice and in other ways. Okay? Hey guys, glad you're here. And you can always catch the replay later, if you can't sit through this right now. So, what is mindfulness? This is the actual definition from the dictionary that I found. The quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. A mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, used as a therapeutic technique. So like I said, for me, this is kind of like a new thing because it's meditation, but the new part of it is being called mindfulness. That's new to me. Because in my practice, in my yoga practice all these years, it's just been meditation. So I like the term mindfulness. I think it's really great because it brings an awareness to how we can be more mindful, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us, which is really great, because a lot of the time we're just going. We're not stopping. We're not even thinking about what we're doing a lot of the time, So there's ways that we can be more mindful just in our everyday life. The meditation types that focus, pretty much all meditation helps us to be more mindful. But I'm going to go over 5 different meditations that we can do to help us to achieve that mindfulness. These meditation types help us focus on being intensely aware of what we're sensing and what we're feeling in the moment without interpretation or judgment. So what does that mean? What does that mean? When I was trained to be a yoga teacher, one thing that we did was pretty cool and brought to all of our attention was the idea of labeling in life, right? How from the moment we're born, we are taught that things have labels on them. So everything, immediately when you're born, you're given a name, right? So, and you're called boy or girl or whatever it is, right? So you are immediately brought into that world of labeling. And so a meditation that we did was we literally walked around outside in the world and we looked at different things, you know, that we have labels for. So a tree, a car, the ground, an ant, right? The clouds, the sky, all these things that we were taught to have labels for. So what we did was we unlabeled those things in our meditation. We took the labels away and acted as if we were aliens that had just landed on this brand new planet and we had no idea what any of these things were, right? So how would you approach your life differently if you didn't have these labels? If your dog wasn't your dog or the rug wasn't a rug, right? What would it make us do? Perhaps it would make us be more present and in the moment, right? Maybe we would find a rug on the floor and we don't have a label for it. We don't know what it is. So we would investigate it, right? If you think about ants in a colony and how there's soldier ants, right? That are sent out to investigate this foreign thing and bring that information back to the rest of the colony to let the colony know what this thing is that they found, right? So similar to that, but humans have lost that in all the labeling that we do, right? We've lost that sense of experimentation or curiosity because we have already been given these labels, so we don't need to be curious, right? So that's the whole idea of those labels, taking them off. Hi, Steph. Is in order to be more present in the moment. So maybe entertain that thought, entertain being more curious about things in your life and even people, right? So there's people that we live with, for example, and you know, it just becomes like a part of the wallpaper, right? When we see them every day, we take people for granted in our lives because we've lost that curiosity about them. Like, oh, isn't that interesting that they do their hair like that? Or I wonder what they like in their coffee, right? So you start to learn all these things about somebody and then the curiosity goes away after a while, right? So that's that whole dating phase, you know, we get all excited about first knowing somebody and you want to know everything about them, and then you do, or you think you do, and then we lose that curiosity element. So being mindful of those things is also going to help to bring us back into the present moment. And that's really what we're trying to achieve with mindfulness, right? So here's a couple of meditations that are very simple and easy to practice this with. The 5 senses is one, okay? So take a moment. We're going to work through this together. And I need to sit down properly because I'm sitting on my feet and I'm killing my feet. Think of the 5 senses in the body, and this is a great meditation to work on anytime. With anything that you're doing, okay? But we're gonna do it right now with the 5 senses. I feel like I'm on the low half. I am on the low half of the video camera here. So let's take a deep breath in. You can close your eyes, you can keep them open, whatever feels good for you. If your eyes are open, just look around the room. Keep it simple. Look around the room or the space that you're in. Maybe you're outdoors. And become aware that you're looking around the room, that you're looking around, that your eyes are seeing things, right? This is one of your senses. I am aware that I am looking around the room. I am aware that I am seeing things. So instead of this activity that we do every single moment of every single day, except for when you're sleeping, right? Instead of it being a passive thing, we're being more active in it. And by being more active in it, it's bringing us into the moment. I am aware that I am looking around the room. I am aware that I am seeing things in this space that I'm in. And then we go to the nose, the smell, the sense of smell. I am aware that I'm inhaling, that I'm smelling. I'm aware of what I'm smelling. I'm aware that I can't smell anything. Maybe you have that inability. Or I'm aware of how I'm smelling. And I can appreciate this, right? If I am more mindful about these senses and being present in the moment, I can appreciate these things more instead of taking them for granted, which brings you back to the people in your life. Same thing. If you can find that curiosity about the people that are in your life, it helps us to appreciate them that much more. I am aware that I can hear. I am aware of what I'm hearing. I'm aware of what I can taste in my mouth, on my tongue, my taste buds. I'm aware of my taste. I am aware that I'm tasting, that I'm hearing, that I'm smelling, that I'm seeing. I'm aware of what I can feel in my skin or with my fingertips, my sense of touch, right? Touch and being touched. Touch and being touched. I'm aware that I'm touching my legs, my clothing. I'm aware, right? So all these things are bringing me into this moment, and I'm able to be mindful in this moment as a result of that. It's wonderful. And it's a great way, again, to appreciate all of those things, right? So now if I'm aware that I can touch my clothing, I'm aware of being in this space that I can see, now I'm appreciating that I have clothing on my back, right? That I have the ability to see, that I have the ability to touch, that I have the ability to hear. All these things that we can appreciate. I can appreciate the beauty that's around me. I can appreciate the things that I can hear, the things that I can taste in my mouth, right? Sometimes we don't appreciate things until we lose those things, right? So just bringing us back into the moment and having that mindfulness in the moment. So that is just one way that you can do this. This is one form of meditation. Breathing awareness is another way, okay? As I inhale, and this is something that you can just repeat to yourself, these exact words. As I inhale, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. As I exhale, I'm aware I'm breathing out, right? So you can say that mantra to yourself. As I inhale, I'm aware I'm breathing in. As I exhale, I'm aware I'm breathing out. As I inhale, I'm aware that my breath is going in through my nose, down into my lungs, expanding my lungs out to the sides, right? You can take this as far as you want. Don't take it too far because you don't want to wander. If you do wander with your thoughts or your mind, then you can always say to yourself, come back to this moment. Hi, Renee. So wandering is also an opportunity to help strengthen our ability to be more mindful. And we can always look at it that way as well in order to make it a more positive thing in our lives, to help train ourselves to be more mindful and in the moment, right? If my mind starts to wander, instead of beating myself up and getting mad at myself, right? Oh, I can't do this, right? I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to be aware that I'm wandering, that my mind is wandering. I'm going to be okay with this. I'm going to be accepting of it. I'm going to love myself still. And I'm going to gently bring myself back into my practice of awareness of what I'm doing in the moment. So that's the breath awareness. Eating. As I'm eating, shoving things in my face, right? Maybe I'm starving, I don't know. Or I'm drinking, eating, whatever it is, right? I'm not thinking. It's a passive activity for the most part for all of us. We don't even think about it, right? But how about being more mindful with our eating? Slow down. Slow down. Make it an event, right? Think of yourself being out with friends, or right, being in a setting where you just want to stretch out every single moment that you have in this time that you have, right? You want to stretch it out. So think of a piece of bread, for example. It tastes so good. You want it to last longer. So keep it in your mouth. Chew it up. Keep chewing it till the pieces get so tiny, right? And say to yourself, I am aware that I have this bread in my mouth. I am aware that I'm chewing this bread up. I'm aware that I'm swallowing this bread, right? So you can break the eating down into those little pieces so that it makes you more mindful about what you're doing and brings you into the moment. Pretty fun, right? Active listening is another way. If somebody is talking to you, right? If I'm talking or somebody's talking to me, what normally happens with us? Talk about minds wandering, right? A lot of the time, we're thinking about the next thing that we want to say if somebody's talking to us, okay? Do you like the way I'm moving my body when I'm talking like that? So if somebody's talking to me, I'm going to practice active listening. I'm going to really listen to what they're saying. And as a response to what they're saying, instead of me thinking, oh yeah, I have to go to the store after this, I have to go pick up so-and-so, and I have to go to the bank, and I have to remember to do this, my laundry, blah, 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 blah. Or, oh yeah, I had an experience like that. Let me share my experience. After you shared your experience, now I'm going to detract from what you just said, and I'm going to tell you about me, because I want to hear more about me, okay? So instead of doing that, active listening is basically listening to somebody when they're talking. And after they're done talking, maybe ask them more questions about what they're talking about, or repeat back to them what you just heard them say, right? Like, what I just heard you say is that you're going through this thing in your life and you're having a really difficult day today. Or your birthday is coming up and you're really excited about it, or maybe you're anxious about it and you're hoping that people will acknowledge that your birthday is coming up and you're feeling a little bit nervous about that, right? Or anything that's happening in what the conversation is. Instead of bouncing back and forth fast in a conversation, you're actively listening and you're letting that person know that you're hearing them, because this is what I heard you say. So that's going to help us be more mindful, be in the moment, and be mindful about others, right? It's a kindness thing as well. Okay, observing your surroundings, right? I think of this as like people watching. People call it that. They call it people watching, right? When you sit in like a train station or something like that, and you're just like looking around, right? And you're observing things without judgment. That's the key, without judgment. So that's where it comes back to that non-labeling thing, So if we can adopt that, if we can adopt the non-labeling portion and sit and observe what's going on in the world around us, what a beautiful thing to be able to do that and not judge, right? Not label. Not make up stories about this one or that one, or, just Be accepting and be okay with being in the moment, breathing, and watching as though you are an alien on a brand new planet. You don't even know what these things are, these beings that are around you. There I am labeling beings, right? There's people around you. I'm using it because it's the only label that we have as humans. So they're walking, right? I don't have a label for them because I'm an alien on this planet. So observing from a non-judgmental place is a way to be mindful. So it brings me into the next portion of this. And I love these little talks because I like to keep them short and sweet, about 30 minutes. When I practice my yoga classes, I really do try and bring the mindfulness portion into the practice, and people don't even realize it's happening. It's really fun. But it is, if you move your body in a yoga practice from a more mindful place, you're gonna be safer, first of all. That's number one. Number two is you're going to be in your body. You're gonna be in the body as you're moving, right? So if I'm aware of, say I'm walking or I'm brushing my hair or whatever motion I'm doing with my body, like we're talking about eating, if I'm aware of those things actually happening in the moment, I'm present, I'm mindful, I'm here, right? I'm not off in the grocery store in the future or in the past with some situation that happened in my family life, right? I'm not living in that past place and I'm not living in that future place. I'm right here in the present moment because I'm aware that I have a brush in my hand and I'm brushing my hair. If I'm doing yoga, I'm aware if I'm doing any kind of body movement, a side to side stretch, I'm aware of my whole body stretching on this side as I reach the arm up and over. Right? I can feel it. I can feel the hip pressing down. I can feel the lengthening on this side. So as I'm teaching my classes, this is something that I, as a teacher, am very mindful about doing. I'm very mindful about bringing the awareness back into each and every little piece, every little aspect of the practice, of the movement, so that people in the class can now be fully present. So mindful movements help establish mindful movements in everyday life. So what are we actually doing when we're practicing, say in a yoga class? We're training the muscle memory of the body, the mind, okay? To practice that in our everyday life. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of practicing mindfulness anywhere, but particularly in a yoga class, because the more you do it, the more natural it's going to become to do. So we're training the muscle memory to be actively mindful, okay? Hey, John. Muscle memory. So then how to move in a safe way, and that is also the most beneficial way for my yoga practice. That's the beauty of it. So like I said, the more you practice, the more natural it's going to become. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples. I have 6 different examples for yoga to be more mindful in your yoga practice, okay? But basically you can do it in any pose, any movement that you do in yoga, okay? I'm just going to give you 6 examples. Before I get into that, just a few other little notes on how we can be mindful in life. And then we're going to end with the examples of yoga. How we treat ourselves, we could be more mindful. In what we say about ourselves, even in jest, right? Especially in jest, how we make fun of ourselves out loud, right? These are all things that we're actually hearing. We're hearing ourselves say about ourselves, right? It's coming out your mouth, it's going into your ear, right? So you are hearing it, whether it's you or somebody else saying it. So how do you treat yourself? How do you eat? How do you sleep? How do you create a routine that helps you have the most optimal sleep, eating routine, exercise routine, right? So how do you treat yourself? How can you be more mindful in how you treat yourself? And does that affect how you treat others? I'm going to say yes. That's my opinion. So that brings me to that point, right? So another way to be mindful and practice being mindful is how we treat others. So how we talk about others, how we treat them, not only to their face, but how we treat them on an energetic level, right? Behind their backs, how we talk about people to other people, right? These are all ways we're still treating. I think we tend to not look at that as how we treat people, but I think that it should be seen as that because it is. You know, even though you're not treating somebody to their face a certain way, doesn't mean that you're not treating them a certain way if it's behind their back. So that would be an interesting thing for all of us to practice as well, right? How we treat others, even when they're not listening. Let's put it that way. So how we use our energy, how we mindfully use our energy. Now, your energy can apply to many different things in your life. Like I said, the eating, the sleeping, the exercise routine. But it can also apply to money, right? Money is seen as a form of energy. It's an exchange. You're doing something for something, okay? So it's like there's energy happening there. So how do you spend money? How do you save money, right? How do you make money, right? These are all a part of being mindful. Okay, so let's do these 6 different yoga things that we can be more mindful doing in a yoga practice if you're going to be practicing yoga. But if not, even if you're not practicing yoga, just how you're moving your body, how you can be more mindful moving your body. Okay, so the first thing I thought of was when you're seated. Okay, so right now I'm in a seated position. I'm going to move back onto the yoga mat, make this official. So here I am on the yoga mat. I have a folded up blanket because I want to be really mindful and really loving, right, towards myself. Can loving be a word in place of mindfulness? I don't know. Can it? I'm going to use it interchangeably because I like it. So I have a blanket here because I want to be more mindful and loving towards my knees. When I talk about coming up to a standing position, there's different ways to do it, and you can be mindful about this. So this is one way. If you're in yoga, come into a table position. Even if you're not in yoga, if you're on the floor, this is a good way to get up, okay? You're just gonna simply step 1 foot forward. I don't even need my blanket. Step 1 foot forward, and then the other foot forward, and then lift yourself up to standing, okay? So that's a way that you can be mindful moving the body, coming to a standing position. When you're standing, another way to come up, this is something that comes up in classes sometimes, and it's just an example of how you can be more mindful too in poses that you're trying to move quickly in, right? If a teacher says to you, okay, come to standing or whatever it is, if you know how to move your body more mindfully, you could, hey Maisie, come here. you could really save yourself from a lot of stress and aches and pains. Excuse the barking dog, I apologize. Come here, come here, come here. It's okay, it's okay. So if I'm in a squatted position like this, Maisie's gonna help me. If I'm in a squatted position like this, I'm balancing on my feet, okay? So my ankles are getting strong. Now to lift up to a standing position, sometimes in yoga class we're gonna do this, my suggestion is to sit back a little bit so your heels move down towards the ground, and now my trunk, my caboose is going to be the main muscle group that I'm going to be using to help lift me up versus my front carriage, which is my knee area, right? I don't want to overstress the knees. So I'm going to sit back, I want to use my caboose, and I'm going to push myself up to standing from there. That make sense? Now, if you have any knee issues doing that, then find a different way to come up. It's as simple as that. Okay, so when you're standing in a yoga class, right, being mindful about how you're standing, right? Most of us during the day, we stand on one leg. Here I am, right? This is an example of people who carry a baby. They might do this with their hips, right? So you're shifting your whole body structure by doing that. If you're mindful about how you're standing and you stand evenly with your feet, then it's gonna affect the rest of your body going up. So I'm gonna think about my feet spreading out. I think of pancake batter, okay? So I'm spreading out my pancake batter on my pan. It's nice and wide, and that's what I want my feet to do. The sole of my feet, I want it to spread open. I want my toes to be relaxed, right? I don't want to grip with my toes, but I want the weight of my body to be even. I don't want it to be too much on the outside of the foot, too much on the inside of the foot, too much on the heel, or too much on the ball, okay? I want the entire sole of my foot to be planted evenly. So when I feel the weight distributing into my feet, it's even, right? And you can actually, if you walk, say on the beach, okay, you can see where the placement of your foot is on the sand, and you can learn about your own body this way and try to figure out, okay, where do I need to weight bear better in my feet? Same thing in your shoes, and this is an easier thing to do because you might not have a beach nearby, or an area where you can step in dirt. Your shoes, look at your shoes, okay? Look at the imprint of your foot in your shoe. And that's how you can tell too, where in your feet you're bearing too much weight versus the other parts of your feet. And then you can try and correct that, okay? Breathing. When I breathe, any time of my day, not just a yoga class, I want to be mindful, okay? That's why as I teach yoga, this is what I talk about a lot. I talk about the diaphragm. I'm visualizing this happening, and that's going to help me be more mindful in my practice of breathing, right, Maisie? So when I inhale, my diaphragm is moving down. When I exhale, it's moving up. The diaphragm is the muscle that is our breathing muscle. If we're using it, we're breathing at our optimal breathing pattern. If we're not using the diaphragm, we're not breathing right, okay? The diaphragm is for breathing. So when I inhale, that's why in yoga we talk about pushing the belly out, because we want to make space for the diaphragm to push down. And then when I exhale, it pushes up. Okay, so if I'm visualizing that, like I said, I'm going to be more mindful and in the moment about what's happening with my breathing. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 5, engage all supportive body parts to support a pose. So for example, tree pose, okay? When you come into a tree pose, you have a foot up like this, or maybe it's at the ankle. What is the standing leg doing, right? I want to push down into this foot. I want to rise my body up out of the ankle. My foot that's on the inside of my leg here, I'm using that too. I'm pushing that into my standing leg, and my standing leg is pushing back into the foot. When I do this, I'm pressing down with my standing foot. I'm pushing in with my foot that's on the side here. My leg, my standing leg is pushing back into that foot. And from there, I'm grounded. And I can rise my body up out of my pelvis and get taller. And now I'm engaging all of these core muscles to lift my body up. Right, Maisie? Right? And then the shoulders up and back. And now my weight, talking about the distribution of weight, is even and more in line. I'm using the structure of my body how it's intended to be used, rather than rounding my back or shifting my weight here or there, right? Or not using this muscle and this leg at all. It's just kind of hanging out there. Use it, push it against the leg. Help to engage the muscles that grow you taller up towards the sky. And take a deep breath in. And exhale, let everything come out of you. Good. So that's one example. Another example is if you're doing, say, a warrior pose, okay? So I'm in warrior one position here. My legs are extended. And instead of just being floppy and hanging out here, hi Kev, my feet are gonna glue down and I'm gonna hug my legs. My back leg is a magnet going towards my front leg. My front leg, same thing, back towards my back leg. So when I glue my feet to the floor and try to pull my mat together, right? I'm trying to squeeze my mat together in the center. I'm going to engage the muscles in these in my legs isometrically, and now I'm going to lift my body weight again out of my pelvis. So here I am. I'm not just hanging out in my warrior one pose. I'm being mindful of how I'm in it, where I'm grounded in my feet, how I'm rising up and out of it, and then I'm breathing. Okay. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about with practicing yoga and being mindful is at the end of a class, you might be lying down. I'm going to show you what this looks like. You might be lying down on your back, and the teacher will usually say, roll over to one side, right? So when you're sitting up from that position, so we're coming down onto our side here, breathing, right? I just came off of my back, I rolled over. Now when I lift up, trying to let my head hang, right? I don't want my neck muscles to be used here as I lift myself up to my seat. See what I did there? So if I'm down here, a lot of people will just lift up really fast, right? It's like when you're in bed, right? And you want to get up out of bed, right? You just flip your body up. You don't even think about it. You're not being mindful at all, right? So the idea is to practice being more mindful, even in that most simplistic of movements that we have, getting up, letting our body come up. Let it be cared for. Let it be loved as it lifts up. Don't overuse the neck muscle, right? Or use things wrong, right? Because if we do, then we end up getting injured. And then we say, what did I do to myself? What did I do to my neck? What did I do to my shoulder, right? And we don't remember because it happens in a split second. And then suddenly we have all these aches and pains going on, but we don't know why, right? Because we're not being mindful in the movement. So one thing that I just did yesterday was I shot a yoga video for mindful movements. So definitely check that out when that comes out. It's going to be on the Be Truly You on demand video page. You can reach that through karayoga.com. If you missed any of our last chats on Fridays, check them out. They're all on the Instagram and they're all on the YouTube, Karayoga YouTube. If you want to join me for any of these mindfulness, wellness, let's say chats, yoga, life, wellness, I would love for you to do that. So just get in touch with me and we can figure it out, and then we'll meet together on here and have a chat. Thank you for being here. You guys are the best. You're amazing. You're awesome. Stay mindful in a good way. Not full in the mind. Mindful. You get what I'm saying there? Not full in the mind. Mindful. Namaste. Have a great day.